it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. So subscribe and hit the bell icon. So, are aesthetic attraction and intimacy separate, or do they go together? That's the question I'm going to be asking in this episode. First of all, if you didn't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of this awesome Asexual Perspectives book on Amazon. So yes, do aesthetic attraction and intimacy go together? Well, asexuals, although the majority of us don't experience any sexual attraction, we can experience other different types of attractions. And one of those types of attractions is aesthetic. Aesthetic is basically what the person looks like, their facial features and things like that. So you can also get something called clothes attraction. Clothes attraction is specifically when you're attracted to a person by certain clothes that they wear. So it is different to aesthetics in the sense of aesthetic attraction is to do with the person's face and their appearance, physical face, skin, that type of thing. Whereas clothes attraction specifically to do with the clothes they're wearing. So does aesthetic attraction and intimacy go together, or can you be intimate with someone, for example, that you're not aesthetically attracted to? Or, and obviously you could be aesthetically attracted to someone, but not necessarily want intimacy with them. So as you probably have gathered by my shorts videos earlier, I went clubbing again. It's really good for my soul, good for body movements and exercise. Thanks for the thumbs up. And so there was a situation at the club where this guy came up to me and he was trying to dance with me, but he was putting his genitalia, I'm going to be very blunt now, trying to put it near mine. And I just backed off and I literally said, I'm not into that to him, and backed off. And then he attempted to do it again, but instead of frontwise, he just attempted to go around the back. Not him move his back towards me. So in other words, his bum would have been in my genitalia. And I just said to him, I said, I'm not up for that, and moved to the side because I wasn't. And one of the hugest reasons for me was because I was not aesthetically attracted to the guy whatsoever. So all asexuals are different. We all have different needs, wants, likes, dislikes. And so for some asexuals, they do not care about appearance. It's all to do with the person's personality. And they don't care what that person looks like. They're often known as panromantics if they're romantic in nature. If they're romantic attracted to multiple genders, and really it's the personality that's the most important for them, then that's usually a panromantic if they got romantic feelings for whatever gender. If they've got romantic feelings for two genders, then it would be biromantic. But a lot of panromantics that I've come across, they actually don't get so interested in what the person looks like aesthetically. This isn't always true. One of my dear friends, they are classing themselves as panromantic. I think it changes for them, it fluctuates. But basically they have more attraction to guys, but they prefer to be doing physical stuff with someone that they're more aesthetically attracted to. And personally, for me, I can't be intimate with someone I'm not aesthetically attracted to. For me, they have to go together. Like, I can obviously be aesthetically attracted to someone and not have any intimacy with them, because I don't go around being intimate with all the guys I'm aesthetically attracted to. That's just not me. But I cannot be physically intimate with someone I'm not aesthetically attracted to. To me, that just repulses me, the whole idea of it. And this guy was not attractive to me. He was British and he had a beard. I really am repulsed by beards. I seem to be getting more repulsed by beards these days. He was British, had a beard, and I was just so repulsed. And he looked older as well, because guys who wear beards usually are older anyway, or they look older, and it's like, why do you want to look like that? I just totally put off, because I'm not really that attracted to British guys in the first place. Yes, some British guys are good looking who actually look like about 20, 21, and they have completely clean shaven face. You know, some of them are there was one, okay, there was one that I saw that was good looking. He had a girlfriend, but one thing I did notice was body language wasn't good with him. So obviously I've got a lot of years experience and I know what to spot in terms of signs of abusers, for example. And when he was kissing her, he was literally holding her neck like this. This is a dominance and control thing. No guy should ever hold a woman like this against the throat. It's really bad because obviously you could strangle her. She was to move and stuff like that. It's a control thing. You should only ever hold gently at the side of the face and stuff like that. You're meant to hold, not grab hold the person's face. And that's not that's something that I've had to tell guys in the past. Like, I've had some guys say to me stuff about doing that to me, and I'm like, "No, that's really abusive." They're like, "What?" Like, they've sent me, for example, a little clip of something, like, they've sent me something through Facebook in the past where, there'll be, like, a guy kissing a girl or something, and I'm supposed to really like that. I'm thinking, "Well, it's not me, is it?" But, and, they're usually heterosexual guys that send me these things a lot of the time. And so anyway, there was one scenario where the person, like, or they were saying something about, "Oh, if I was with you, I'd be grabbing hold of you." And I'm like, "No, you wouldn't." You should never grab someone. You should, because if you're grabbing someone, one is if your hand slipped, your thumb slipped, you could actually seriously damage the girl's neck, right? It's a dominance and control thing because she can't escape. You're forcing her to kiss you by holding and grabbing her like that. It's really bad. She should be kissing you of her own free will, so you should have your hand, like, around her cheek or her face or her hair. You should be cupping it. You should be holding it, not grabbing it, not taking hold of, but holding it gently, you know? And so that's a really kind of, like, you could argue, subtle thing that most people wouldn't know, but I know from experience and from learning about abusive behavior, that is a really controlling and dominating thing. You don't want to be putting a girl in that position where she has to kiss you. She should be kissing you of her own free will. And it's not about being, that isn't romantic. Romantic is when you hold her face gently, or hold her hair for her so you can sweep it back from her face. That's romantic. And so, for me personally, aesthetics and intimacy go together in the sense that I cannot have someone I'm not aesthetically attracted to come near me, like, physically. I just can't do it. So every asexual is different, like I said, and some asexuals, they do not care about what a person looks like. But for me personally, I just can't be intimate. Like, if I'm in a nightclub and I allow any guys to be intimate with me in terms of kissing or anything like that, I have to be aesthetically attracted to the guy. To me, it's very logical. Like, why would I want to be physically close to someone or something that I don't think is appealing? It doesn't make sense to me, but I know every asexual is different, and I understand that some asexuals, they do not care about looks whatsoever. They're just all about the personality. That is their main attraction. For me, I get attracted to a guy's face usually first if I've just come across him, because that's the thing I notice first. Because I don't know what his personality is like until I talk to him. If I talk to him, obviously guys in clubs I don't really talk to because I try, don't really bother with that anymore because I don't have, I'm going there for dancing anyway. I didn't kiss any guys, and, like, the only guy that wanted to be intimate with me, I'm like, I'm not interested, and the fact that he tried it a second time really did pee me off, because it's like, what part of I'm not into that do you not understand? If I say to a guy once, "I'm not into that," he should respect my wishes and just be like, "Okay, I'm backing off." And not try and do something again. I really was not attracted to him, and I just, moved away from him. He probably didn't like the fact I rejected him. But there was another girl that was dancing with him before. She was actually dancing with him. She had her butt on him, and he really liked that, I think. But then he was coming and trying to do that to me, and I was thinking, I'm not interested. Go back to these other women who like doing that type of thing, because I'm really not interested. I mean, there was like two women dancing together, but then they were bringing guys into it, and she was like pushing her bum up against him, which is fine if she wants to do that. But I personally don't find him attractive whatsoever. And so for me personally, if I ever get into a relationship, the guy, I've really got to be aesthetically attracted to the guy. I cannot be doing with a guy with a beard. I really would have to split up with him. And I know that sounds really harsh because it's something to do with his face and it's a personality is more important, but I cannot kiss a guy that I'm not aesthetically attracted to. Right. And so the more facial hair he grows, the less attracted I am to him. And if he's got a full beard, I just can't stand it. I just really can't stand it. It's just like I'm just repulsed. I just don't want to know. So, whatever asexual you come across, if you come across other asexuals, if you're looking for a dating scenario, relationship scenario, you come across another asexual, always ask them what their preference is, what they like. Never just think that just because I this way means every asexual's that way, because it doesn't. But I have got my best asexual friend. They're the same with me with facial hair. They can't stand it. And my other best friend is hating facial hair as well. They're both into guys, and they hate facial hair as well. Like it's like, why would you have that? It just looks gross. And I know there's probably loads of people who watch this channel who've got beards. So I've probably just really upset some. I'm sorry if I've upset you. I personally can't stand beards, and I think any guy looks far better shaved, any single guy in the world, whatever age. I don't like older guys, but whatever age, they just look better shaved. I do not understand why any guy would want to have a beard. Years ago, it was frowned upon. So years ago, I've been in retail in the past, and in retail, it was always taught that a guy should not have a beard. He should be clean shaven. That's why you see clean shaven guys in banking, for example. The majority of guys to this day still do not have a beard. And this is because there's some that do, but the majority still don't, if you look. And the reason for this is because a beard was seen as like untrustworthy years ago. If there was a guy that had a beard, it's like, oh, and he was a salesman, it's like, oh, you can't trust him, he's got a beard. And it's a barrier between the customer and actually the person. You're putting something in between it. But things have changed, like for example, there's pictures now where people who are in companies have got their arms folded in front of them, and that's supposed to be a real power pose. But years ago, if you put your arms in front of someone, it's actually really bad body language. And I don't think that's changed. It's like I'm putting a barrier between me and you. I'm being standoffish. So I don't really get it, but obviously times evolve and change. And like years ago, there was like a trend that broke out where beards was the in thing. And then everyone was getting beards. I remember in my old job, there was some guys that didn't look, they didn't look bad looking. They're British, but they didn't look bad looking. And then all of a sudden, the beards took over. And it's like, oh my God, you've just aged yourself like 10 years. What is the matter with you? I don't know why any guy would want to look older. I do know there's some guys who don't like the fact they look too young. They think they look too young. I like young guys, so for me, it's like, but I like you the way you are. That's the whole point. I don't like older looking guys. I'm really not into them at all. So, yeah. So for me, aesthetic attraction is very important, and the more aesthetically attracted I am to a guy, if, for example, I was in a relationship, the more intimacy I would want to do with him. Um, as I'm not in a relationship, that I have boundaries, and there's certain things that I won't let guys do who I'm not in a relationship with, because I believe the most intimacy you should have is with your partner. Even though I do allow myself to kiss in clubs if there's a guy I'm aesthetically attracted to, and he moves forward to kiss me and I want to do that. But I go predominantly for the dancing to the club, and because it's good for my body, and I've got fibromyalgia, which is a pain condition actually, and dancing actually helps because it makes me very euphoric. It puts me in a really good state. And it makes me feel so good. Sometimes it's a little bit boring, in the sense that, like, because I'm going every week now, it's a sense that sometimes I wish I did have someone to dance with me a little bit. Sometimes there was a few guys that came up and was like doing like this, but a body was apart. They weren't trying to come on to me or anything like that. It was just like, she's fun. Let's just do some hand signals the same as her, that type of thing, which is cool. But like sometimes I do get a little bit bored. Like, I know you're probably not used to me saying that, but it's like, I would like to actually have someone to dance with a little bit sometimes. I'm not always like that, but sometimes it gets like that. And then the rest of the time I'm just really happy dancing on my own. I dance on my own predominantly all the time anyway, like just the guys doing a few hand gestures. It's not really properly dancing with me. So, but I do love dancing. It's really, really good for my body and soul. But yeah, so in terms of intimacy, like I said, the more aesthetically attracted I am to a guy, the more intimate I can be with him. Or the and or the more I'm enjoying the experience. So you might have remembered years ago that I allowed myself to kiss outside a relationship in a club for the very first time, and there was something that happened. It was very romantic, and was an Indian guy. I haven't had an Indian boyfriend actually. I have kissed an Indian guy. I've had a date with an Indian guy. I've kissed more than one Indian guy. I had a date with an official date with an Indian guy last year, but I haven't actually had a boyfriend who's Indian, which might surprise you. But yeah, so obviously Indian guys are the most top aesthetic attraction for me is Indian guys without a shadow of a doubt, and then Bangladeshi, Middle Eastern, Sri Lankan, all those type of people, Pakistani. Um, so yeah, so for me personally, I need aesthetic attraction if I have a relationship. But I was explaining that years ago I allowed myself to kiss outside a relationship, like, and 1 or 2 days later, this Indian guy, like, walked into the club, and it was just so romantic. I won't ever forget it because of the way it happened. And it was just like fate that I decided I would allow myself to kiss outside of a relationship, because usually I prefer it inside a relationship. And traditionally, I think that should be just reserved for someone in a relationship. But I've had to change my view and opinion on that in order to allow my kissing needs to be met. Because I'm asexual, it's very difficult to find a compatible partner for me, especially because I like younger guys. I really need a younger guy who's into older women, because then it would work really well, because obviously I'd be really into him like in a younger guy, he'd be really into me like an older woman, so that would be really older girl. Like, I don't even call myself woman usually, I call myself girl. I think woman's a little bit old, but I will call myself woman in a business sense. I usually call myself girl, it's like, because I'm a girl, but so going back to this time, like this romantic time, like I was in the club and I was dancing on the stage a bit like I usually do. And then this Indian guy walked in, and this isn't recent, this is a few years ago. And literally, he turned to face the wall. He had like 2 drinks in his hand, and then he literally came on the stage part and he started dancing near 2 girls. And I thought, oh, he must like them. And I was thinking in my head, if this is my guy, he'll just come up to me, won't care about age. And then he just saw me, and like, that was it. And he just like looked up and then came towards me, didn't, forgot the other 2 girls. And then like we were locking lips and kissing shortly after that for about an hour, I think it was, on the dance floor. He couldn't stop kissing me. And I never went to the toilet, which is very unusual for me. And he didn't even drink his drinks. And I was just like, I did enjoy kissing him, but because he had some facial hair, mustache, a little mustache, I wasn't as aesthetically attracted to him. So if he had no facial hair, I would have been so much more aesthetically attracted to him. So, for example, I wasn't like, sometimes I get arousal when I kiss. Usually it's not in public. It's kind of like if I'm having intimacy in that actual relationship, because there's certain things that I'll let a guy in a relationship do with me, like certain levels of intimacy, or go further, if you know what I mean, than any guy I would ever date. Because I would, like, be kissing a guy maybe on a bed sometimes in a relationship. I'm not gonna have a guy back to my place who you just met in a club, and there's certain places that I won't let him touch anyway. But when I was kissing him, I just wasn't like at all aroused or excited in that way, because it's just like a clog down there, because I wasn't that aesthetically attracted to him as I could have been. And this is like a really personal, weird thing, but I mean, I can get excitable. I like being excitable and attracted to a guy a lot. It's kind of like intimacy without sex, passion without sex, I like. So if I experience arousal when I'm kissing a guy, I don't usually have that in public, but if I do, it just makes the experience better usually. Like, if I have no excitement, it's like, oh, okay, it's just a little bit like a clog. And it's just like, yeah. So I'm being very personal now, but I think, women just as much as guys should be open about their sexuality, and they shouldn't like, I don't want sex. I'm not interested in sex. Sometimes I have high arousal levels, and sometimes that scares me as an asexual because I found it too sexual sometimes because I'm personally sexually repulsed, and other times I like it. So this has been very personal now. So I just want you to know that if you're a person who experiences arousal as well as an asexual, it is okay. It's not the same as sexual attraction. So sexual attraction is when you see someone and you're like, oh, I really want sex with that person. And you get the urge and the want for it and you really yearn for it with them. Whereas arousal is just feeling in your genitalia, basically. And it's certain things that a person might do or even say or conjure up pictures in your head that make you feel aroused. And so don't confuse that either with libido. So libido is a sex drive, but some asexuals do have sex drives, but it's not usually aimed at anyone. It usually goes into nothingness. So yeah, so they're all different things. I personally don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever. I don't look at a guy and think I want sex with him. It just doesn't happen. However aesthetically attracted I am to him. So you might have been thinking that in your mind, like, okay, she's really aesthetically attracted to a guy. Does it make her want sex? And it really doesn't. I have no feelings towards having sex with a guy at all, including am I highly aesthetically attracted to him. If I'm highly aesthetically attracted to a guy, it just makes me want to kiss him more. And like I'm quite a sensual person. So some asexuals experience sensual. I'm not talking about sexual, I'm talking about sensual attraction, like touching. So I like to touch the guy's hair and stroke his face and his hair and stuff like that. And so, like, I don't mind touching the guy's upper body. I'm not really interested in the lower body, but like his hair and his shoulders and his frame and his arms and that type of thing. I find that really nice. But again, I'm only going to want to do that personally if I'm aesthetically attracted to him. So, for me, aesthetic attraction has to be present for intimacy to be wanted by me. Otherwise, the least aesthetically attracted he is to me, the least I want to have any physical contact with him. Now, there is an Indian guy who I'm friends with on Instagram who I met through a Bollywood event. You might remember him. I spoke about him before, and he had like a beard. And so I did allow him to dance with me. And um I couldn't I couldn't like have a guy like that as my actual boyfriend. We're not suitable anyway, but I just couldn't because I'm not aesthetically attracted to guys' beards. I told him that. He's like, but loads of women like beards. Like, it's really like good. It makes I'm like, but I don't. He's like, but everyone does. It's normal. And I'm like, well, I'm not everyone. I don't find it attractive. I had to tell another guy I met at a Bollywood event as well who was interested in me. He was an older guy, actually. He's 28, I think he said he was 28, 29. So from the maturity point of view, he probably would have been a type of guy who may want to actually settle down more because he had a maturity about him. And he has actually told me basically he was looking for a girlfriend. But I had to be blunt with him and say, but I cannot be with a guy. I didn't have the heart to tell him when I was actually in the Bollywood event because he kept coming to want to dance with me. And I can, because it's a foreign guy, it's an Indian guy, even if he's got some facial hair, I can still sometimes hold the guy's hands and, like that type of thing. But anything like going towards genitalia and getting closer bodies is difficult or not at all. The guy I'm connected to on Instagram, he has beautiful eyes. So even though he's got a beard, he does have absolutely gorgeous eyes. And I guess he is good looking, but I'm just really not attracted to him because the beard is an issue for me. But he's really, he is good looking, I guess, what everyone would say is good looking. But I did dance with him on Valentine's Day when I went to for a little bit at a club. And I allowed him to like put his arms around me and stuff like that around my back. But we can't kiss because I'm just I'm not that aesthetically attracted to him for that. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah. So there was my other guy, like I was saying at a Bollywood event, but I hadn't got the heart to tell him I didn't like because I started talking to him before I actually danced with him. So he probably thought I really liked him, and I liked his personality, actually. I got on well talking to him, but when it came to actually him wanting to, like, get closer to me dancing, I was backing off. And I had to tell him afterwards, "Look, I'm really not into guys with beards, you know, I just," and he's a Sikh, so it's like his culture, and he really has to wear it for his religion and, like, wear it, have it, a beard, you know? And it's just like, I understand that, but there's no way me and you can be together, you know? It's just not gonna work. And so that was kind of, like, difficult because, you know, at Christmas, he wanted to meet up with me, and I said, "Yeah, but if I meet you and we go out together, I have to let you know that I'm still gonna be looking for another guy because I'm not you know, I really can't be with a guy with beard." And he's like, he thought I was joking. He's like, "Oh, this funny joke." I said, "No, I'm being serious. I need to find a guy who I'm actually attracted to, you know, and if one comes along, then I'm gonna be off with them." I was really blunt about it because I do not want to end up spending all my time with a guy who isn't suitable for me. What's the point in that? What's the point in me spending all my time? There was a guy that I really liked actually when I was with him, but I hadn't got the heart to tell him that I'm really not into guys with beards because he seemed a really nice person. But this other guy was clean shaven. He was so gorgeous and good looking. I really wanted to kiss him, but I couldn't because I was spending more time dancing with the guy that I would originally started talking to, you know? So again, you can see the pattern of aesthetic attraction for me. It's like if I'm really aesthetic attracted guy, it's like yes, I can go and kiss him, but if I'm not aesthetic attracted to him, I really can't. And if a guy's got a beard, there's certain limitations I've got. But you know, if he's British with a beard, he ain't got much hope at all because I'm not really attracted to British guys. But foreign guys, you know, Indian is more passable because they're Indian. I'm pretty attracted to Indian guys in general. And even if they've got a beard, you can see their beautiful skin and stuff like that, you know. But again, I'm really not that interested. I can't be in a relationship with an Indian guy with a beard. It's just not good for me. So anyway, if you're asexual, do you experience aesthetic attraction? And are you a person who, if you're asexual, do you experience aesthetic attraction and you can only be intimate with someone who's aesthetically attractive to you, or does it not bother you whether they're aesthetically attractive to you or not? Do you prefer the person's personality? I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think. For me, like it's high, it is very high. I know it sounds weird because I always like in terms of principles, I like the fact that, you know, it's most important to have a nice personality. And obviously, even if the guy's really good looking, I can't be in a relationship with a guy who's really good looking, like treats women like dirt, basically. Or, you know, like is a cheat or a liar or any of those type of things. Like I do not like those type of guys. So it can't just be aesthetic attraction while I'm with a guy, but aesthetic attraction has to be present for me to be with a guy in the first place because I love kissing. And I do like physical touch, just not having sex and stuff like that. So, you know, for me, I can't be with someone I'm not aesthetically attracted to, even if they've got a really nice personality as well. I just couldn't, if they got a really nice personality, but they had a big bushy beard on their face, I just like, I really can't be doing with it. And anyway, I think a guy, if he's really into me, he'll be just like, "I'll shave it off. It's not a problem." Just you know what I mean? But I need a guy who's really into being clean shaven because if down the line, all of a sudden he's like, "Oh well, my face is hurting. I'm not gonna shave my face for like 5 days, or I'm gonna decide to grow a beard." I'd just be like, "Really?" I'd just be like, "It's such a shame because I really like you, but I just can't. I just can't do that to myself. I can't be sitting." Near someone or with someone who I just got such repulsion for the beard, you know, and I just see it as a barrier to kissing as well. You know, it's like, why would I want to kiss hair? And I love kissing for long periods of time. It's like, why would I want to kiss hair? I just don't. And the hair, I'm fine with the hair on the guy's head. Like, I love Indian hair. Oh my gosh. It's so beautiful. My favorite type of hair, actually. Even if there's a British guy that looks a bit Indian, he's got Indian type of hair. I'm like, oh well, at least he's a little bit Indian looking. Oh, poor British guys. I used to be in relationships, like long-term relationships with British guys. My 2 long-term relationships, British guys, not foreign guys. I have been with foreign guys, but they were very short-lived, which isn't very good very good really, isn't it? Doesn't bode very well, but that's in the past. So yeah, but I really think it's important that you understand yourself, that you understand the different types of attractions. If you haven't already seen the video about asexual, 8 asexual attractions, just go in the search bar of my channel and type in 8 asexual attractions, and it'll come up with a list of all different types of attractions that asexuals experience or can experience. They don't necessarily experience all of them, they can experience up to all the 8, depending on the person. I get to experience all the up to all those 8. Some people can only experience a bit of asexual attraction, for example, but they don't have any romantic attraction. So every asexual is different, and it's much better to ask them what they like, don't like, dislike, and don't like, dislike. It's much better to ask them what they like, don't like, what their preferences are, and stuff like that. But I've come across a lot of guys that are very attached to their beards. When I was on Facebook dating, there was so many guys, and it's like, I really don't like beards, and that's kind of like a hint for them to either do something about their beard or we're really not suitable, and a lot of them go, "Oh, I like my beard," which I understand because it's part of their identity, but it's like, I've just got to move along when it's like that. It's like, next, you know what I mean? I'm not active on Facebook dating. I still got my profile, but I've had it off for a long, long time. It's been on take a break for like God knows how many months now. I've done really well not to go back on that, actually. But the 2 dates I had, in-person dates last year, they were from Facebook dating. So I did like it for that reason. Oh, and also in the club, something that was very difficult tonight was there was a lot of sexual touching, like, so for example, there was this guy and he was with this girl, and a lot of guys would find this girl attractive. I think she was Chinese, but she was very slim, short dark hair. I'm not into women, but I know the type of girls that guys like. And I just think lots of guys would find her attractive. And she was with this guy who clearly must have been her boyfriend. And he, to me, was not very attractive at all. Again, aesthetically, I didn't think he was very good looking. But like, he was like dancing with her, but I could tell it was all about her body. And this is why I really don't want to be with a heterosexual guy, because it's just all about their body. And he was like moving her body towards his and grinding his penis on her, to be quite blunt with you. And he actually was like he actually has his hands down the top of her trousers, and you could see her the top of her underwear. She like had a G-string on or something. I'm like, oh my God. And you could tell he was just after her body, and he wasn't good looking. Like, while she was at the toilet, he was just stood there picking his nose. I'm like, this is so gross. Why are you with a guy like that? It's just gross. And when she was trying to dance with her friend, because her friend was there as well, when she came back from the toilet, you could tell he was bored and left out. But it's like, and he just wanted to get back to satisfying his sexual groin needs. And that's something I really hate about heterosexuals. It's like they're so sexual orientated. It's all about the woman's body and how much she can press his body against her body and how much sexual satisfaction he can get without even really caring about the person. And to me, that's just gross. It really puts me off. It really puts me off sex. Like, I'm writing the Asexual Guide to Sex book, still finishing that. I should say that I've finished the draft pretty much. I'm still adding a few words here and there and stuff, a few sentences, but I've pretty much finished it. I'm just changing all the chapters around and stuff. So not all of them, but some of them, I should say. And in order to write the Asexual Guide to Sex book, I have actually done a really good job, because I have been very fair, I think, about sex. I've said the sex repulsion side, and I've said the good things about sex that asexuals might like, the benefits of it for asexuals, and all this type of thing. So although I'm sex repulsed, for me personally, I've actually done a really good job of being less biased towards sex, or in favor or not of it. But when it comes to stuff like that, and I see these people in nightclubs, and I see guys treat women like that, it really makes me want to throw up. I just hate it. I'm like, he's not very good looking anyway, and I'm not interested in women, but by comparison, I think anyone who saw them together would think she is much better looking than him, if you're into women, than him. And I'm like, why are you even with him? He's just gross, and all he cares about is just putting his groin against yours. He does not care about, and clearly he was just touching her body, and I thinking, what has he got to offer her? You know, and it's just gross. And so I really get grossed out by stuff like that, even though like I don't mind some intimacy in clubs if it's a guy I'm really aesthetically attracted to. But I just felt like all he cared about, and clearly they must have been boyfriend girlfriend because they were kissing and stuff, but I just think all he cared about was her body, and it just makes me sick. I'm like, is that all you think about? Is that all you care about women? Just to use their bodies like that? It's friggin' disgusting. I hate it, and it really puts me off a relationship with a heterosexual. Because sometimes I've said, well, I could possibly be with a heterosexual if they didn't need sex, but that is going to be very rare case because most heterosexuals will need sex, as we all know. It's like everything to them, and it's like they can't have love without sex. There's been the odd person, like I've seen someone on this channel, for example, who came in chat and they said they had an asexual girlfriend, they don't have sex. There's even someone in my asexual perspective book, this book here, where they're in a relationship. The asexual person's in a relationship with someone who isn't asexual, and they don't actually need the sex, they say. Don't get a grab your copy on Amazon of this. And so, that is hope. But overall, I would say that heterosexuals or sexuals in general need sex. And it's just not nice, because usually they do cheat. Like my exes that have been heterosexual, which is pretty much all of them, they are, just sexually driven, and the majority of them are cheated on me, because they need sex in the end, and they just don't get it from me, and so they end up going elsewhere for it. And that is even before I knew I was asexual. I haven't had a long-term relationship since 2011, and I found out I'm asexual in 2014, so 2014. So I have had some like a couple of really short-term relationships, like only for a few weeks, which wasn't intentional. It's just that they, the first guy was very sexual. He's Bangladesh and basically cheated on me, like within a very short space of time. And then the other guy, he was very highly sexually driven and just wasn't suitable for me. And so it's a shame that there's so much incompatibility. I know a lot of asexuals that are in my dating groups, they have the same problems as me, like trying to find someone suitable is really, really difficult. I mean, I have very niche needs because I have high arousal levels and zero sexual attraction, which it makes you just like not quite fit in anywhere a lot of the time to the asexual spectrum. Even I got some sexual behavior the way I like to dance and kiss, but zero sexual attraction. So to me, it's very illogical. That it just doesn't make sense, but it is the way it is. And it's just so hard. And obviously I don't want sex, I don't want marriage, I don't want kids, I like to live separately. um I like Indian guys whose culture is very different to my own personal culture usually. It's like I'm opposite of that a lot of the time. There's got to be one Indian guy out there, he's completely different to his culture, he doesn't like it and he's not interested in it, and it's like, yay, this is the life I want with Sandra, not this traditional Indian type of like arranged marriage stuff that's going on. But anyway, I know it's part of their culture. I do get it, but I would never, ever, ever have an arranged marriage. Like, even if I was born into that culture, I mean, obviously, I'm not, but if I was born into a culture, I'd still want to say I wouldn't. I don't like marriage anyway, but years ago I did. But I'd still want to say it. I wouldn't want someone to just pick the person for me. And like I've been in like for example, a Facebook group I was in. Oh, I think I'm still in it. I don't know. I haven't checked it for ages, that group. And there was quite a lot of people in there, predominantly women, but not all women, predominantly women, saying how unhappy they were in the marriages. And some of these guys really hurt them, like physically as well. Which is horrible. There was one guy that had had it the opposite way round. But yeah, I just personally, I mean, I'm very liberal, like, even with my own parents, they're very opposite to me. You know, my parents don't show affection in public, and my mum gets horrified at the fact that I can kiss guys who I don't even know. Well, it's not like I kiss loads of guys I don't even know because, you know, I just don't. But I just like I tell my parents stuff like that, you know. My dad watches this channel anyway, so it's not like he's not gonna find out. But you know, it's just like, oh, and they already know that I'm gonna be with a younger guy if I'm with a guy in the future, you know? I've already prepped them. I think that's one of the best things you can do is, like, obviously tell someone that you're asexual and, you know, like, because the sooner they get used to you being asexual, the sooner they can accept it, and the sooner they can, like, stop, like, saying things to you that's uncomfortable because it's not in line or in keeping with who you are, and it's not suitable for you, you know? I always believe honesty is the best policy, and I know it might be difficult if you live with family and stuff. You might think they don't accept you for who you are, but I say it's much better to be out who you really are than it is to stay closeted for years of your life and die with your beautiful asexual self inside you, you know? Asexuality is not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to be scared of or frightened. It's not something to hide away because you've done anything wrong or that you don't matter. You do matter, you know? All asexuals matter, you know? And if you lack sexual attraction, I actually think that's a beautiful thing because it's like, wow, you can actually love a person for their personality. You can actually love a person for other things. You can care about them. You can build that deepest ever bond with someone emotionally because the sexual attraction is not getting in the way. You can, you know, like, really get to understand the person on a deep foundational level. You can, you know, have shared interests and hobbies. You focus on much more on the other things, and I think that makes for a more beautiful, interesting relationship personally. But I'm like, in terms of my parents, I'm really the opposite to my parents, and I have my own culture. I don't go by anyone's culture. I would never ever do something just because my parents told me to do it. Like, I'd rather be a rebel, you know? My parents know what I'm like anyway in that way, you know, like, I have to go my own way. I think it's good for independence, you know, to go your own way from parents, to do your own thing. If you just follow what they say all the time, you never really learn anything from yourself, and you never really end up being able to make decisions for yourself and stand on your own 2 feet. When you're accountable and responsible for yourself, life gets a much better, you know, and you're providing your own security then as well. I've completely digressed from the topic of this video. But it's been an interesting discussion, I think, you know? And going back to, like, aesthetics and intimacy, personally for me, I can't be intimate with someone that I'm not aesthetically attracted to. But it's important to know that every asexual is different, and for some asexuals, looks just doesn't matter, that it's all about the personality for them. So anyway, I hope you found this video useful, helpful, insightful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you for the person who's already given me a thumbs up. And share it with anyone you think might want to hear this right now, especially if someone's confused. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never ever miss an episode. Lots of love to you. See you soon. Take care. Bye. Bye.